Good evening, everyone. Bonsoir à tous. I have the privilege and pleasure of serving as the President and CEO at the Canada Media Fund. The CMF is the largest fund in Canada that supports the development, production, and promotion of Indigenous and Canadian content across all audiovisual platforms, primarily television, but also film, video games, and immersive entertainment. So think of series like Orphan Black, Schitt's Creek, Pour Toi Flora, Le Bye Bye, Stat, Children Ruin Everything, well, at least mine did, and hit video games like Dead by Daylight, Rainbow Billy, and Ravenlock. So Canada's creative power is more than just the title of this talk. Canada is a creative powerhouse. So what is it that explains the sheer creative power of a relatively small country neighboring the most powerful culture manufacturer and exporter in history? Well, it's a word we've heard a lot tonight: authenticity. That's the source of our creative power. Amidst a media glut and countless voices vying for attention, authenticity is the edge that helps our stories break through, its Canadian creators reflecting the diverse, multifaceted nature of our society. It's how our storytellers transcend borders and connect with audiences everywhere. It's why Canadian culture matters. Demonstrated proof is Montreal-produced series Transplant. Medical dramas have been long ahead of the curve in terms of on-screen representation. This one's no exception. Led by a diverse cast and writing room, it's sold in more than 170 territories and averaged nearly 3 million viewers per episode in the US. The show employed writer Anar Ali, who then went on to create CBC's new political police procedural Allegiance, a Surrey-based BC series following a South Asian cop that Catherine talked about. Alberta-based Heartland has been running for a staggering 17 seasons, a record for a one-hour Canadian drama. It's watched in over 120 countries and is the only Canadian series to make the overall top 15 TV series watched by Americans across streaming platforms. If there's Americans in the crowd, please stand up. The quintessentially Toronto series Sort of, about a gender-fluid millennial who straddles various identities, garnered 68 nominations and 30 awards, including Canadian Screen Awards, Cannes Diversified TV Awards, and, as Catherine mentioned, no less than a Peabody. The authenticity of the first Quebec series with the majority Black cast, like I knew, no, I'm not totally supporting the CBC on everything I say, Catherine. There's a few others out there, has been delighting Quebec audiences. And of course, Little Bird, which follows the story of Bezig Little Bird, an Indigenous woman who was taken from her family during the 60s scoop and adopted into a Jewish family. This series was lauded at the last Diversity TV Awards, won the Audience Award at Series Mania in 2023, and just last week nabbed a total of 13 Canadian Screen Awards, including Best Drama Series. I've been in this industry nearing 40 years, and I've seen the impact of our storytelling. Indigenous and Canadian stories are more than just entertainment. They are bridges. They connect people and foster empathy and understanding across cultures and experiences. On that thought, I will share with you a few words from Carrie Swanson, the CEO of Canada's Indigenous Screen Office. As Canada's first national Indigenous funding body for screen content, the ISO is leading the way, building innovative and responsive new systems for the next generation of Canada's Indigenous storytellers. Our model has inspired and changed Canada's screen industry. Changing systems in this country requires a monumental effort, and we have demonstrated that we know the way forward. The international success of our storytellers is a testament to that knowledge. The power of these stories is changing perceptions and stereotypes in our country and around the world. Change requires courage, humility, and respect. When you talk about the power of culture in Canada without Indigenous people present, You are missing the beating heart of this land, its history, and the storytelling that helps us make sense of it all. I would add myself that the accomplished work of the ISO and the success of Indigenous content that is resonating the world over may not have been realized without it. The upcoming series, North of North, from two highly acclaimed, successful Inuit filmmakers, which is a funding partnership with CBC, APTN, the CMF, and Netflix. It would not have been authentically shot in their own community of Iqaluit without the significant investment of $1 million from the ISO, an organization with, at that time, a small budget of $14 million. They recognized this as the perfect opportunity to develop creators and crew in the North. Authenticity is crucial for all of us, funders, promoters, and keepers of our culture. It must be among our key principles. It's what makes Indigenous and Canadian stories from all experiences, communities, and regions relatable on a global scale. It's what enabled us to build a powerhouse of a screen sector in 2023. Media production in Canada contributed $14 billion to Canada's GDP and created nearly 240,000 well-paying jobs. It's what enabled the CMF to fund more than 1,300 audiovisual and interactive projects in 2023-24, enabling $1.7 billion in production activity. Authenticity is what gives our sector the power to change us, to challenge our perspectives, and to invigorate our spirits. And it's through this lens of authenticity that Canada is seen on the international stage. I recently saw Wilfred Buck at the Yorkton Film Festival in Saskatchewan, my home province, and it's the longest-running film festival in North America. It's older than Cannes. This acclaimed debut feature documentary from Anishinaabe filmmaker Lisa Jackson made its international debut at Copenhagen's prestigious CPH Docs and was an official selection of Hot Docs in 2024. Moving between the earth and stars, past and present, this story follows the extraordinary life of Wilfred Buck, a charismatic and irreverent Indigenous elder who overcame a harrowing history of displacement, racism, and addiction by reclaiming ancestral star knowledge and ceremony. There's a scene where an elder describes a visit by two prominent, very important scientists to the Dalai Lama to discuss some scientific theories they held. The Dalai Lama pours tea. As they talk, the tea fills the cup and overflows all over the table, onto the floor. And the scientists say, "Stop, the tea is overflowing everywhere and making a mess." Well, the Dalai Lama replies, saying something like, and this is not a quote, "Well, and so it is with your mind. So full of research, ideas, your daily work, your mind is overloaded, and you cannot see the answers to your questions. It's overflowing, like the tea. Come back when your mind is empty to receive." This documentary profoundly impacted my heart and my head, and I promised myself I would find a way to empty my mind to be able to receive what is not familiar and hold on to the belief that Wilfred Buck showed us, that all of our ancestors are all in the stars, as it's where we too came from. As we soon become consumed with the landscapes across the border and in our incredible country in the next months and years, watch when you can. See and feel these stories that remind us of who we are, where we come from, and often help us to see what the future might look like. Our storytellers keep us whole, allow us to transcend the daily grind and find again the things inside us that we may have lost. Thank you.